Today is a holiday, so not many students are here. But I will still explain in detail for those who watch the recording later. Today we will study the second line small knight's move. Last lesson, we covered the attach and double hane line. So this small knight's move also needs to be discussed. Before the AI era, it was a very standard move. Years ago, a professional Fordan wrote about this in Go World. At the time, I was quite shocked by it. Later, I forgot that player's name. Not professional Fordan made one point in the magazine. White's small knight's move is rather inefficient, and over time, this move might disappear. After I appeared, it did confirm that this move is not very good. Professional players often have their own sharp understanding of efficiency. In the AI era, this position is criticized mainly because it is not compact enough. In the attached and double hane position, it is very hard for black to tenuki. I did not cover this last lesson, so I will add it here. If black tenukis, white cuts and gives Atari upward. Notice, white should not Atari underneath and then make a tiger's mouth back. That is very bad. In the attach and double hane line, if black connects, white makes the tiger's mouth back, and then black tenuki. The direct punishment for black's tenuki becomes extremely efficient upward, then counter Atari out. After this sequence, the opponent has no room to resist. Whichever direction black answers from, the result is bad. Pushing out from the side loses too much, and extending on the lower side cannot go far. White's second line clamp is unconditional sente. Black's liberties are tight, with no sente left. So after the attach and double hane position is played out, black cannot tenuki. But in the second line small knight's move position, black can tenuki much more easily. Today I will also mention theory analysis again. I will go through it fairly quickly. Using theory to judge this 3-3 point, the conclusion is simple. Whoever plays the diagonal move loses value. There are two typical cases. If the Joseki ends and black plays the diagonal move, black loses value. If white tenukis and later plays the diagonal move inside, then black extends two spaces or extends on the side. White loses value. Let me do a simple theory check. Use a cross to divide the board into 4 separate areas and evaluate each area on its own. Both sides extend 2 spaces. We separate the areas and compare their value. Black occupied the corner first, so the corner space belongs to black. White develops toward the side. This split result is very reasonable. The lower side result favors white on both sides. In the future, if white makes a small knight's move in the endgame, black should block to make territory or press. Black should not play the small diagonal move. If black does, the exchange favors white. White gains points below, and black's diagonal move has very little effect. The upper right is the same. Take white's 3-3 point as the example. In the future, if black invades the 3-3 point, white's first instinct is to block directly and not give black any agi. If white instead makes the small diagonal move back, those exchanges help black. White shrinks back, the local shape becomes a weak head, and black will have agi with a press or a checking extension. So that exchange is clearly bad for white, and not just a little bad. In the lower left, the 3-3 point belongs to black, so black loses value. In the upper left, the 3-3 point belongs to white, so white loses value. The conclusion is this. In this position, whoever plays the diagonal move loses value. Tiwari makes this conclusion fairly easy to see. Once we reach that conclusion, we know the small knight's move is definitely not sente. So black usually tenukis. After black tenukis, this shape is not very good for white. If white tenukis, then later plays a checking extension from the outside instead of playing the diagonal move. Does it pressure black? Not really. Black can still play the diagonal move back. Even if white crawls inward, black can jump out with a 2-space jump. Once black gets the head out, black is fast, and the center shape is thick, white can hardly keep pressing. Black can either get the diagonal move or extend on the side, so white has no real pressure. The conclusion is that the old second line small knight's move is less compact than the attached and double hane. Has the small knight's move been completely eliminated by the times? Actually, no. In the AI Joseki dictionary, the main question is this. After black plays the diagonal move, white tenukis, and black pincer. In other words, white probably will not play the small knight's move either. So our question is this. If white has already tenukied and black pincers with a 1-space or 2-space pincer, can white choose the small knight's move instead of attached and double hane? Both options have distinct trade-offs depending on the surrounding position. Now let's summarize the key functions of the small knight's move. First, compare with attached and double hane. The small knight's move avoids one opponent option, Atari, and push. In some games, you do not want the opponent to play toward the influence direction. On that basis, the small knight's move can replace attach and double hane, because locally it aims to lift. Whether the small knight's move works depends on the whole board. The closer the pincer is, the higher the risk. The opponent can play the diagonal move, then make a tiger's mouth to build influence. So judge the whole board. If you do not mind the opponent developing upward and you think the right side is the bigger issue, then this small knight's move is playable. If the opponent enters the corner, we arrive at a very important local shaping technique, the small diagonal move. This is a critical concept worth mastering carefully. Unlike many Ayadra discoveries, the small diagon has been around since the human era. It is a classic shape-fixing tool that has stood the test of time. When is the small diagonal move useful? In shapes like this, jump, it may prepare an exchange with a probe later. If the diagonal move repairs the cut and helps make an eye in the tiger's mouth, it is common. In other words, this is a repair after probing, not just a random small diagonal move. White's purpose is clear. White wants senti at A. If white does not play it, even the hane at B may become senti. After white plays the small diagonal move, black cannot attack so easily. Now let's look at several common attacking methods. If the lower side is important, one choice for black is to jump out. Both sides can accept this position. If the lower right belongs to black, black is doing fine. But here is the problem. Under what situation can white have an approach on this side, while the lower right is still black's, and white can still tenuki? That situation basically does not hold up. In practice, it almost never arises. If the lower right belongs to black, white cannot tenuki from this corner approach, but white has already tenukied here. So both conditions cannot hold at the same time. This is yet another shape contradiction. The position you were counting on simply does not exist. So black's jump is not very common, and there is a clear reason for it. If black jumps here, it is an obviously efficient choice. The jump itself is slow by nature, and once white attaches out from this side, black has real trouble keeping the shape under control. The resulting position is awkward for black, with no clean follow-up available. If black simply hangs, white holds firm. White has local senti with the squeeze, and lives comfortably by attaching and playing the diagonal move. That alone is enough for a stable local position. With white now settled and secure, black cannot seal the outside head either, since white comes out cleanly on both sides. In fact, black's hane only helped white resolve all the local issues. Black gained nothing meaningful in return. This line is simply not good for black. If black fights back more forcefully with Atari, it looks decent on the surface. But this is exactly where I first disagreed with II quite a bit. At first, it was hard to understand why. White gives Atari, connects, and retreats. This looks passive, but it turns out to be the correct response. When black jumps and white crawls, this move is important. At first, it feels as if the pristine flower capture with 5, 7, 9, and 11 is big. But after thinking it through, the key is that the lower right cannot belong to black. If the lower right is black's, you cannot tenuki after approaching. If white has tenukied, lower right these two stones still have a connection problem. If white spends one move to connect, then a future push or single point attack will be very painful. After the cut, pushing inside is too uncomfortable. It cannot be played. If white returns, black's Atari is senti, and after black jumps, white lies miserably on the left. In the whole board setting, it is very hard for black to be better. Black can connect by playing a hane, So there is no point there anymore. But after the point, do not connect. If you connect, there is still a push and a cut. After the cut, standing there creates a golden rooster on one leg shape, and is actually better. So white's attachment is very powerful. Black is only so-so. Black's more common answer is a two-space jump. Then white gets to choose. Against a two-space pincer, white can simply squeeze and jump out. If white wants to live locally, white blocks directly after the sequence. Crawling is bad. White's diagonal move is good. Black stands, and white connects out with the head. The left side has terrible aji for black. The seal at A, the point at B, and the diagonal push at C are all senti. White has a solid eye locally and comes out smoothly. Black's lower side is only barely acceptable. So overall, this shape is quite good for white. Regardless of how black responds locally, white is comfortable here. Against a one-space pincer, white directly plays the diagonal move. If black retreats, white squeezes and jumps out. If black extends, white attaches out. Whether black retreats and white connects, the result is about the same. Attacking white from the upper side is actually very hard. Textbooks usually give a one-space low pincer, which is not very common. I will mainly expand from the two-space low pincer. If the opponent cannot play from those points, then locally, to handle this shape, black will want to solidify the shape here. In the human era, people also thought this solidifying move was black's strongest local move. But black's heavy clump is a bad move. In plain terms, if you make a heavy, condensed shape and it does not do major damage to me, then it is definitely bad. White only needs to crawl inside, and this position is easily solved. AI's best local line is to let black tenuki. Whatever black plays later, white can solidify the shape, and black retreats. Even if black hangs in the corner, humans used to think black could simply solidify after the hang. But white is forced to make a tiger's mouth back, all on the second line, and that is actually unbearable. After black solidifies, white first hangs once and denies the endgame. Black can only connect. White then makes a one-point jump and jumps out. It is very simple, and black is not doing well. Overall, white is fine. Black's corner is not big, and the attack did not work. This clump on hane line is just mediocre. The old human line was a bit like living in a dream. Wait for black to block, then make the clump and move outward. But black definitely should not block. People also used to think black had to make a tiger's mouth here. In fact, black can simply squeeze in, and that is a pretty good move. If black connects across, white makes the tiger's mouth, and the cut is severe. After black connects, jumps, and repairs, black comes under attack, and the shape is not relaxed. Black can simply push down with a direct attacking method. If black hanes, white retreats, and still has a probe. If black pushes, white jumps. In this local capture, white stones become heavy and inefficient. So in this position, white is not as good as before. These old human bad diagrams do not need to be memorized. Against a pincer, the local evaluation of the small knight's move is still decent. Next, besides the small diagonal move, black also has moves like pincering or attaching these. These were once very popular. At that time, this was a popular setup. With the worry-free corner as support, black would pincer from the outside. Humans used to play the diagonal move, then play a ladder breaker by extending on the side, or play a ladder breaker by defending the corner. Black would answer the ladder here, unrelated to the outside ladder. AI changed the logic of play in this shape. AI's new move order is this. After the attachment, hane, then after the hane, tenuki. This shape is very similar to attach-and-double-hane. Both are hane, double-hane, and tenuki shapes. AI really likes this kind of shape. The key point of this shape is that black's atari and capture is not absolute sente. In the future, white may not need those two stones. White may choose to attar out from this side when the outside is very big. White may also use this atari point and extend from the other side to fight. If you compare it with 3-3 Joseki shapes, white's choices become broader. AI recommends jumping out directly after the checking extension, without entering the corner. Gunning the head out is already good enough. The old human idea was to complete the flying exchange, then crawl below to finish the shape. But that is wishful thinking. Once the move order changes, white switches direction and plays the diagonal push from the other side. That redirected move is the key, and the old continuation disappears. If white chooses to crawl and endure, playing outside is useless. I can bend once. A bend at the head has great strength, and pressing at A is sente. If white chooses to get the head out, then we fight directly. The position is balanced, and I am not afraid. If you jump, I press from this side and strengthen myself. It becomes a direct fight between two running groups. This kind of move is also fine. If black plays more violently and cuts through the elephant's eye, the key is to see whose corner the upper left is. In general, the upper left corner does not belong to white. But let us now suppose it does. If the upper left is white's, white has support on this side, and the situation changes considerably. If the upper left belongs to white, white has the initiative. White can push directly and curved press, breaking up the shape first. The lower side definitely will not die. If black wants this side, the lower side will suffer. White stones at 4 and 6 are disposable. Even if black captures them, it is not valuable. Black must understand this. Capturing my stones is not valuable. If we remove the 2 white stones and the 2 black stones by Tawari, we can see black's pain. It is like white approached with a small knight's move. Black made a checking extension, and white even jumped once here. When I build influence, black jumps here. When black approaches my stones, black also makes a large knight's move here. These are all extremely efficient black stones. They cannot be considered. Remove 4 and 6, and also 7 and 9, and black's left side efficiency is very low. If black wants to make the lower side good, white can hane this stone to death. Since the left side belongs to white, white can do almost anything. As long as the lower side does not die, white can accept it. If black attacks by force, white jumps, pushes, crawls, and comes back to live. Why does black not simply play the diagonal probe? Because even with that probe, black still cannot kill white. Even if white is surrounded locally, white can still live. There are senti moves everywhere inside. Before living, whether white can jump out from here or take senti with the bend depends on the surrounding position. If white is thick enough, white can jump and bend. So this position is still quite powerful. Black cannot kill white, and black's move efficiency is very low. If the upper left is black's framework, white does not need to choose the push. Without support, white can simply jump and curve the seal. If black keeps moving outward, white still comes back here. Or white can fly out locally, and if black presses, white jumps. There is no real problem. If black pincers from this side, white can simply fly once. Both sides then play their own game, and the result is close to even. Whether you accept this balanced outcome depends entirely on the whole board. If you are comfortable letting the opponent build outside influence, the simplest approach is to probe once first, then play away to a bigger point elsewhere. This kind of flexible, whole board thinking is what this position calls for. The Joseki dictionary gives the order as probe first, then hane. The difference is not big. Both are possible. Alright, do not play this hane and double hane line. Other diagrams also appear in the Joseki dictionary, but their frequency is too low, or they are mistaken human ura lines. They have little practical value, so I will not cover them. This was the one-space low pincer. Besides pincering here, there is also a very compact attachment. It was once very popular. I really do not like calling it the Korean style, but that was the name at the time, because Korean players often use this attachment in the star point and small knights enclosure. Its win rate is not high either, so I will explain it as an attachment. When black attaches, white's correct move is to hane upward. Do not be timid. If white gets haned against and makes a tiger's mouth, black can point at the square, and white loses value. After the attachment, standing is bad 99% of the time. Trading inside for outside, or upper side for lower side, is usually not good. After the attachment, white usually hanes upward. If white hanes downward, black gets many choices, such as a crosscut. After black attires and retreats, black can build influence, while white stones are low in the opening. With the upward hane, black may only retreat. Then white has three common follow-ups: stand, connect, and press. First, we still need to consider the setup. If the lower right belongs to white, then standing is white's best move, because we are not worried about black building influence below. Why does standing work only when white has the lower right? If the lower right is black's, black can stubbornly bend up. Black plays the diagonal move, and the outside line at 1, 3, and 5 works with black stones. But if the lower right is white's, black's 1, 3, and 5 become very awkward. Black tries to take away white's space, but white keeps pressing relentlessly. After the retreat and tiger's mouth, the squeeze is senti. White's outside stones are well positioned, while black's lower side gains are tiny. Through this pressing line, white consistently holds senti and maintains a strong outside position. Black's effort to establish a base comes to nothing. If the lower right belongs to white, black's direction here is very unclear. If black cuts, white gives a tari and pushes out directly. Black cannot handle it. If black simply hanes, white presses, and the cut is dead. White is not afraid. Black still has to extend. White pushes again, then jumps from the 2-stone head and 3-stone head. Black is almost dead and can only run out. White gets a pleasant hane and double hane in senti, then turns back. The point marked as 20 is worth studying. Black pushes, white retreats, and later extending is still senti. Black's left side is thin and badly shaped. There is heavy force and leverage outside, plus a potential center peep at the square shape. So if the lower right belongs to white, then white's stand is best. This position rarely appears. If black chooses the attachment, the lower right should usually support black, such as with the master enclosure. In the normal star point plus small knight enclosure setup, when white approaches, black should pincer directly. Black is unlikely to wait for white to enter with the small knight's move and then attach. If white simply makes a diagonal extension instead, black's lower side framework is largely erased. Suppose the lower right belongs to black. After black attaches, white hangs upward and connects. This is the best local move. Then black has to return here. If black keeps moving this way, white directly plays the diagonal move. White defends at 4 instead of standing, and the lower side can be invaded. If black jumps outward, white largely erases black's lower side framework, and black also gives up the lower left corner. Hane and connect again does not help. White can crawl first and then defend. This diagram is also not good for black. If black plays the small diagonal corner move, the good AI array shape is to start with a diagonal push. Humans used to pincer directly. The opponent cannot really tenuki. If black plays on the side, white blocks, and black still has to defend the corner. Then white becomes too thick outside. The upper left is probably white's, so white's development is even more frightening. After the diagonal push, black probably has to crawl, and then white covers over. This shape puts a lot of pressure on black. If black wants to live, black can only attach forward. The simplest line is to retreat back. If black connects, white extends, and the outside becomes very thick. Playing a whole row on the third line is not what black wanted from the attachment. A master enclosure plus a pile of small third line stones. If black flies back, is extremely white plays the diagonal move, and white's connection black gets no real value on the bottom. That is unacceptable. If black plays this way, white if black gives Atari, white simply captures that stone. White is satisfied in both territory and thickness. Stones 8 and 10 are also solid heads. Although black's 11 and 15 strengthen the bottom, white's outside is also very large. And if black connects at the cut, left side later, white crawls and uses the aji to aim at a cut. No matter how black endures, there will be aji on the right. Inside, this is a capture by filling liberties, and there is actually not much territory. Black has to play this move. After white connects, black fills liberties and captures. White has taken 2 and 4. With one crawl, white has enough eye space. Everything local is senti, and the local group is alive. Even if the outside gets completely surrounded, white does not need to worry about life and death. The reason is that white already carries a living group locally. Because of this, the outside influence becomes even thicker and more powerful. Even if black tries to capture those white stones, the gain is not enough to compensate. Local life combined with outside thickness is what makes this pattern very strong for white. If white wants to hang downward, The lower right is usually black's small knight enclosure, not a star point shape. So the hane downward does not really work in this configuration. The opponent can cut, and that cut is quite effective. It is not easy to manage cleanly. White can endure for a moment and find a path, but the position is not comfortable. Humans used to ask whether white could Atari and then extend once. This is where the old human concept conflicts greatly with AI. Now there is Atari at A, Atari at B, and a band capture at C. Think about it. If you are black, what should you choose? Humans used to think white had already gained here, and that the outside ladder was connected to C, but actually it is not. Once black cuts through, white is in trouble. Being forced out like this is unacceptable. Humans thought this was just a ladder issue, but being attached out is something white cannot tolerate. Even if the attachment is sente, it does not help. White captures it, erasing the ladder. Later, black plays the hane and connection. After this, black is cleanly alive. The lower left white group is too thin, and the lower right is not completely cleanly alive either. After this diagram, humans used to think white could split and attack both sides. But if black occupies two star points in this setup, then by this opening position, black's win rate is already close to 85 to 90%, very high. So the Atari and single extension line is not good. Here, white can only let black Atari back. Even if that stone gets captured, it is not very good. Extending back once lets the opponent give Atari, so it is definitely not acceptable. Black no longer needs to bump, so black gains sente and captures the outside stones. If white stands, black blocks, and this becomes a sacrifice diagram. White can crawl at most 4 times. The liberties after probing and Atari are the same, but black's lower right is thicker. White is worse than in the previous sacrifice diagram. The old human variation diagrams are all not very good. Humans thought black could not cut, so black had to make a tiger's mouth. But that is not good. After the tiger's mouth, white extends, attaches, and extends again. White can Atari freely. Black center becomes a small T shape, with no eyes, no territory, and no life. It is not playable. So this diagram is the more standard line. Next, let's talk about a very famous human-era Joseki, pressing from above. The upper press must be played only when white has a favorable ladder. The ladder path is toward this area, and it has nothing to do with how the corner was occupied. White must have supporting stones on this side. With support in the upper right, the ladder in this direction favors white, so white's press is very strong. If the ladder favors white, black cannot hane. The old human line was to hane and hold firm. With the ladder working, this is powerful. If you cut and capture, I connect. Why must the latter favor white? If the latter does not work, black can hint up, and white really wants to cut. After Atari Impress, there is Atari at A and the ladder at B. The key is that ladder. Without it, white cannot play this. When the ladder favors white, after the cut, black may still have to retreat. White's Atari sends black out directly, and the left side becomes very unpleasant. Black is hard to handle. Once black gets hand on this side, black cannot play the bottom. And after the sequence, white calmly extends once. Black cannot hold the position. Black flies. White plays this shape appears move, in many Joseki, and after that, such as the flying move again after the shoulder hit on the small knight's enclosure, and the cross-cut after that. They are very similar, so you can apply the idea by analogy. When the cut comes up, the opponent simply extends once. After that, your extension here is useless. Locally, there are no liberties and no real tricks. After white gives Atari, 4 outside liberties are enough. And locally, white can fill liberties and crawl. Black seems to have 2 senti moves outside, but letting white live along this side is too big. It takes both the corner and the side. Overall, white is still more powerful. In the old human line, white retreats. After black jumps and plays the diagonal move, white plays the diagonal move. Black balks, bumps, and extends 2 spaces. I criticize this as soft. In this shape, black can directly fly and probe, then extend on the side. Black is lively. If white tries to attach and cut for shape, black ignores it and extends once. Black's left side is also fine, so white is slightly worse. That covers the attachment lines. Other moves are rare, so I will not discuss them. The textbook also has the diagonal push. Just treat it as an ordinary diagonal push. There is no need to study it separately. To summarize the small knight's move, in different situations, choosing it is completely okay. The textbook also discusses the follow-up after extending back. I will leave that shape as homework. I have covered it many times in the invasion topic and the diagonal extension topic. It belongs more to invasion than to Joseki, so I will not explain it here. Set it up yourself and refresh your memory. Next lesson, I will briefly cover different applications of the 3-2-3 point. After that, the follow-ups to the small knight's approach will basically be complete. Locally, only the corner point and the attachment remain. We will have one lesson this Thursday, and that should finish it. The small knight's approach is the most common in actual games, and it is very easy to tenuki from. After tenuki, white has follow-ups such as attach-and-double-hane, or the small knight's move, depending on the position. Each variation is not hard. The real difficulty is choosing the right move for the whole board setup. Okay, that is all for today. See you next Thursday.